Are apocalyptic sounds coming from Mount Shasta? Perhaps, but maybe not. A California woman was left shaken after discovering the eerie source of some apocalyptic sounds she heard on Mount Shasta. They detailed these anomalous finds in a series of videos going viral on Facebook. Carrie Ann Snoorer and her daughter Jordan had been horseback riding in the area when they heard a creepy screeching noise blaring throughout the trees. Curious, the pair investigated and went off the path and into some nearby brush, whereupon they found a patch of solar-powered Bluetooth speakers jutting up from the dirt. "This is straight apocalyptic," Snoorer declared. "Someone is summoning something here." After venturing up the mountain, the duo found veritable fields of these sinister-looking sound emitters arrayed about the trees. The majority of the speakers, which Snoorer deduced were solar-powered, were blasting white noise, although several played a recording of a sermon that mentioned salvation. "I think it sounds like white noise because they're all playing the same thing, but when combined together and not properly synced, it just sounds like static," the content creator theorized in a follow-up clip. "The ones that were placed by themselves, you could make out a human voice coming out of them repeating a mantra." All told, there were between 100 and 200 of the high-altitude loudspeakers, although their purpose remains unclear. There weren't any houses anywhere close by within miles, and nothing to want to ward off anything from, so I guess this was definitely a summoning of some kind, said Snurr while discussing the strange experience. She theorized that it could be a Lemurian beacon system, referring to a New Age legend that claims that Mount Shasta houses a subterranean city inhabited by the descendants of a lost continent known as Lemuria. According to the lore, a network of tunnels beneath the Golden State's fifth largest peak reportedly leads to their citadel known as Telos. Legend has it that the Lemurians are technologically superior, capable of interdimensional travel, and can even contact extraterrestrials. Coincidentally, the volcano has been associated with supernatural phenomena. In addition to the Lemurians, entail everything from Native American deities to Sasquatch and even UFOs, according to Atlas Obscura. Viewers had their own theories as to the identity of the mountain music makers. "They're trying to entice Bigfoot into their camp," said one, while others speculated it could be some sort of cult activity or wolf deterrent. "The famous Mount Shasta witches are summoning demons," posited one commenter. Some even theorized that the alpine noise machines were a form of defense system used by illicit marijuana farmers in the area. Gadget providence notwithstanding, many viewers were perturbed that someone would litter the scenic nature spot with electronics. However, during a follow-up investigation of the area, Snurr confirmed on her on-Axe maps that the installation is on private property adjacent to the California government lands. "I still have absolutely no idea who put them there or why," she wrote. "But at least now we know the mountain wasn't trying to summon us. Welcome to another perfectly normal day around Mount Shasta." So, are these devices from a subterranean species summoning God knows what to the earth? Or just someone screwing around, possibly someone wanting a viral video? Perhaps, but maybe not.
Where is that coming from? Oh my God.
Creeps and weirdos getting all creepy and weird. Sluts selling butts, them buttholes done been sold. Dogs breeding like bugs, rabbits are coat hangers. Killers killing and killing and killing. Nailsin News. 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 Where'd all the money go? Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street? While killers be killing and killing and killing. Nailsin News. 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 Where'd all the money go? Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street? While killers be killing and killing and killing. Nailsin News. 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 News.
All right, that's the deal. You're going to get Nailsin News. But I'll be drawing some of the people featured within the articles of Nailsin News. It's been a while since I've done that because quite a few of them really creep me out, yeah. But I don't know. What else am I going to do? So, just like that perhaps, but maybe not thing, I already taped my reading of the articles. That way I can concentrate on the drawing as it plays out. Now, all these videos are in the raw, meaning I don't have any artwork put on them or anything. Like for that, I don't know what to do for that. Perhaps, maybe not. I mean, basically, it's these two ladies riding horseback, and they find these speakers all over the place on the ground playing these weird messages. I mean, it's all creepy and stuff. I don't know, but you know. And then perhaps they're the ones who did it, but whatever. But what do I do for the corner artwork? I don't know. I guess I could just draw some woman on a horse and then have speakers underneath it. Like the horse is like, "Ooh." Actually, the horse in the video just seemed like, meh. I don't know. But anyway, that's the deal. I'll read a few of the chat. Of course, hit the like button, as Nodak says. It is true. You should. A. Thompson, Doug, why the font so fucking big? I don't know what you're talking about. Alexander says, hi. A. Thompson says, OMG, the font sucks. Well, I guess that's it for saying hi. Doug, change the font back, please. I didn't change it in the first place. A. Thompson, Doug, I can't handle this font. Nodak says, hey, Thompson, YouTube changed something with the chat size. I don't like the bigger font either, so there's nothing I can do. Yeah. Torito says, Hickman's Fantastic Four, our time runs out.
Hickman's Fantastic Four. His comic Time Runs Out. That's that disaster movie, isn't it? Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, I am going to watch that one and do a review in my series on disaster movies. The next one I got to do is Poseidon Adventure. But yeah, I did the airport movies and Towering Inferno. So those are up. But next one, Poseidon Adventure. Yeah, the Hickman's Fantastic Four, I didn't read a whole lot of it. I mean, he had Brian Hitch drawing it, so it was pretty cool looking and everything. But, you know, I mean, the big deal was, oh, no, Johnny Storm dies. Did he? No. Alexandra, why would you want a Bigfoot in your camp? Yeah, I don't know. I guess because they want to be the ones to get the video of Bigfoot. So, but yeah, I don't know why you would want that there. Peanut Butter says, thank God. Okay, well. Hey, Thompson, change the font back, Doug. I don't even know where to begin. So, Peanut Butter, Alexandria the Boss. I mean, I'm looking at it. What's the big deal? I don't even notice the difference. Anyway, Peanut Butter, hit the Doug button and go live. Well, I mean, I guess it's talking about Peanut Butter. Hey, Thompson, the Incredible. It's an honor to have you back here, sir. I don't think it's going to stick around. He's mad about the font. Torito, both Marvel comics. Time Runs Out was a Marvel comic. I'm not familiar. Torito, Dr. Doom going nuts. He does that on occasion. Used to be it was all about Reed Richards, you know. And then, I don't know, he found other hobbies. Anyway, all right, I guess I need to go to the news. And, Johnny Storm comes back with the cosmic control rod controlling the annihilation wave. Amazing. So see, there's always a way out. All right, now I got to switch over to, normally I call it the super tip level, which, you know, it is, but it's also a means by which I can show my drawing board. See, I can draw here. All right, what's the first one I'll do? I guess I start at the bottom of the... Normally, I do the absolute most horrible stories first and end on a light note. But I don't know that I had that opportunity here. Yeah, I guess that'll be all right to end on. So I don't think this is the absolute worst. But, well, I guess we'll go with it. Huh? There it is.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
What the hell?
Knife-wielding women chased man around the
They
house.
can't play?
And horror stabbing. Oh, man. A man was chased
Any
around
day
the
now.
house by two women, one being the mother of his child, and was cut and slashed by both. Demi Oliver, 26, and Kelly Reese, 36, were in a property on Peasley Place in Milford Haven with Warren Hopper when neighbors reported hearing loud voices and music following an evening of drinking. All three were acquainted with each other and lived nearby, with Oliver and Mr. Harper having previously been in a relationship and sharing a child. During the assault, which occurred on July 27th, 2024, Mr. Harper was chased around the home and barricaded himself in the bathroom while both Oliver and Reese pounded on the door. Prosecution barrister Dean Pullett informed Swansea Crown Court that Mr. Harper attempted to exit the property but saw Reese, who had consumed crack cocaine in the kitchen, brandishing a knife. As he went to retrieve his bag, Reese sliced him on the wrist with a Stanley knife. Okay. He was also slashed by Oliver, who wielded, a different knife. Mr. Pullen told the court that at this point Harper ran upstairs and considered trying to flee through a window. Deciding it was too high to leap from, he returned downstairs and managed to force his way out of the house while bleeding profusely. He was transported to Withy Bush Hospital in Haverford West via ambulance with stab wounds to his wrist and arm, and later required surgery. Oliver and Reese both admitted to unlawful wounding, and were sentenced at Swansea Crown Court. Barristers David Singh and Ian Ibrahim provided mitigation for Oliver and Reese, respectively. But Judge Hugh Reese, another Reese, cautioned that both defendants could be handed immediate prison sentences, despite the incident occurring 2 years prior. What, they waited 2 years to do this case? I mean, what? But, yeah, they got to go to prison. Come on. Holy crap. Judge Reese stated the victim sustained very serious injuries. Not a nick causing a superficial injury. They were 2 significant wounds to the victim's left wrist and arm. Oliver, from Presley Place, Milford Haven, received a 17-month prison sentence. 17 months? Reese of Waterloo Road, Haken, who is currently serving time for a robbery in Milford Haven, was given an additional 27 months behind bars. Well, at least there's that, I guess. But geez Louise. So, what do you think the fight was about, Well, the girl's, really pissed because he was playing both of them, and he already had a child with one. Probably something like that. So then the knives come out, Yeah. Oh, well, I would suggest he pack his bags and move elsewhere. You don't want to be anywhere near these crazy bitches.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Yeah.
This is a Nailsin News
Okay,
Bulletin.
really serious that. Jeez. So anyway, that's the deal with that story. And you have to wonder, we get no details as to what sparked the whole thing. But since there are 2 broads involved, and one of them he had a child with, and they're both really mad at him. So now, if he's cheating on one with the other, you would think they would be mad at each other as well. But I guess they resolved their problems, their differences, whatever, and decided, hey, look, he's the one that's the problem, and so they teamed up to cut him up. And I guess that's how that went. And perhaps it's just, he was supposed to be loyal to one of us, but he was loyal to neither. And maybe that's how it happened. Because usually, a lot of times when it's infidelity, the women don't really team up against the man. I mean, they might both be mad at him and stuff, but they usually really hate each other, because they figure, men can't control their junk, and women should know better. And so it's she seduced him, tricked him, something, and it's more her fault than his. But in this case, they seem to be in agreement that he was the problem. I don't know, but the authorities eventually, when they got around to it, decided, nah, you can't stab him. At least they agree with that. It did seem like they took their sweet time dealing with this, but But yeah, that's what they did. So boy, that blonde lady with the she's jeez. Yeah, I would have been really scared to be chased around the house by that thing. Um, so anyway, that's it for them. I've got their jeering done in pencil anyway. But, gee, do you think there's hope for them in the future? You think he'll take them back? Yeah. I don't know. Peanut butter, is Johnny Storm a homosexual now? Not yet. But I thought they might, so that they made Iceman gay, and then you have Johnny Storm and Iceman, and then it really doesn't work out because then Iceman melts and stuff. So it's too bad. But yeah, they haven't done it yet. It's kind of surprising. You would have thought that's exactly what they would do. But I don't know. They just didn't. Just about everyone else is, though. Let's see. I think they made Wolverine bisexual. I think he had a 3-way with him and Cyclops and Jean Grey. I think they did that. I think what's her name? Kitty Pryde is maybe because of the name Pride. She's a lesbian now. After decades of not being a lesbian, but whatever, it just magically happens sometimes. And then there was someone else. I don't know. I'm blanking on it. I think just about all the women are gay. There's a couple of men are, but they'll get them. Don't worry, they'll get them eventually. I think they did a story where they insinuated Batman had some homoerotic thing. Superman, they didn't. They made his son gay, but they didn't make him gay. But they did do a story where he got depowered and locked up in prison, and the guards had their way with him. So he did have that little experience. Because, that's the kind of stories you want in your superhero stories, Wonder Woman, of course. I think they would say, well, come on, she was on that island. Now, in her case, you could make an argument where there was some fooling around there. But the point of her story is, as soon as she meets a man, and keep in mind, this is the first time she ever meets one in her, origin story, she can't get off that island fast enough, So Wonder Woman basically was gay for the stay. It's just your only options was other women because there's nothing there but women. I suppose the gods, a couple of them, they got junk, and maybe a couple of them would show up. I know you're hungry for it, and that kind of thing. You can't help but notice that. And I don't know. I suppose they could have done some story. Her ex-girlfriend's all mad and tries to kill Steve Trevor and all that sort of stuff. You could have had a jilted lover villain there, but then that would, put the jilted lover in a negative light, and they probably would. Anyway, there's that one. Who else? They were turning a bunch of them gay. The original Green Lantern, Alan Scott guy. Now that it's a strange little journey there. Originally, for a long time, even before the woke era and stuff, they'd established that his son was gay. So he had 2 kids, a son and daughter, and the son was gay. So, all right. So that's the deal there. Relatively new characters, I suppose. So he's like, well, I guess it could be. So anyway, then they decided to do an alternate universe, Earth. They always do that. And in that version, Alan Scott himself was gay. He didn't have any kids. Somebody else was the superpowered characters of those kids, I guess. But he said, yeah, what I mean, his son was this guy who could turn into shadow and stuff, and he was called Obsidian, and that was his deal. And so, and his daughter, she had kind of just naturally had Green Lantern powers, kind of, I guess. She was green and had, all that. But none of that was cool enough. It didn't have the brand name of Green Lantern. So they made Green Lantern himself gay in this, alternate timeline. So, yeah, all right, whatever. He's gay, for reasons. And then that was that. Well, after a while, that wasn't good enough either. So they decided to go, and no, the original version of the character needs to be gay. A character that came out in the 40s. So you're talking, I don't know, 80 years, And suddenly he's like, I guess I've just been in the closet all this time and I didn't even know it. So he's magically gay, or they did do this thing where Dr. Manhattan changed the DC universe and Doomsday Clock or some crap like that. And so maybe that's the explanation. See, you mess around with time and stuff, and you never know who's going to turn out to suddenly be gay. There's consequences for that. You're not supposed to mess with time. So that's one of them. So he's just suddenly gay now. They created this arch villain of his that's actually his ex-boyfriend. They did a comic book series where Green Lantern would go to the docks looking for gay prostitutes. yeah, it's all great. So yeah. And I'm sure there's others. I forget. Oh yeah, they made one of the Robins gay. Yeah, they said, well, it was only a matter of time, and so they did that, despite the fact that they had this long-winded story of him and this girl, and they had this romance and all that. But nah, the problem was, he was gay all the time. Peanut Butter says, at least in the movie. That last guy who played him. It is play. Okay, so it's just skipping on my end, but you could see the video fine. Is that the deal? Okay. It's just like OBS. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, Alexandria, wow, both women whipped out knives. They did. And they chased him around the house, and they both got a chance to stab him. Peanut Butter Nodak, it got so hot in my area that all my TVs broke. Good Lord. It's like the screen melted off. Peanut Butter, the AC wasn't on ND, or no, I don't know. Now the screens are this strange infrared vision thing. Holy crap. Jeez, it really did cook them. Alexander, how hot is it there, Peanut Butter? Peanut Butter says, Alexander, Wolverine would never have sex with Cyclops. Gambit, yes, but never Cyclops. Oh, Gambit's the cuter of the two, I guess. Well, I think it was a Jean Grey thing, so probably they made Cyclops slurp up the, Peanut Butter. Gambit would never turn on us. Alexandria, Cyclops is so boring. Peanut Butter, Wonder Woman was always dyking until Dixon showed up. So Pat Dixon shows up on the island. Yeah. Peanut Butter, Jesus, not Manhattan. No, it was Dr. Manhattan. Alexander, Dr. Doom's plan to turn all the superheroes gay. It's diabolical. Disney wins. God, you never would have thought it. But then I guess he figures that all the chicks will have to have sex with him because all the men are gay. Oh, but wait, all the women turn gay. Well, I guess he just likes to watch, just wants to watch. He watches lesbian porn. And he's like, why can't the whole world be like that? And then they're like upset that he's there. And he's like, no. See, there's always a catch. When will he learn? Never. So, all right. I guess I need to move on to the next story. The two women chased. I'll just go ahead and remove that one so I don't hit it again. And, oh yeah, here's something. Boy, you made a big mistake, huh? Yeah, I'm afraid this poor lady certainly did. She certainly did. There we go.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Woman defended violent thug in court. Then he tried to behead her. Well, no good deed goes unpunished, I suppose. Yeah. So anyway, a witness in a case surrounding a brutal knife attack was herself slaughtered by the very same man she was defending. In 2017, Michelle Rogers was mercilessly stabbed by her then boyfriend, Matthew Robinson Terry. Matt Terry had attacked me that night when he returned from a bar, she told a court. He had stabbed me 7 times, beaten me quite badly, broken my nose, and given me a concussion. I said to him, "Why are you doing this? I love you." And he said, "No, you don't. Fuck you, I'm going to kill you." Michelle revealed to a television documentary crew how Terry's relatives had hired a very expensive solicitor to represent him in court. The barrister successfully presented a string of character witnesses that assisted him in downgrading Terry's charge from attempted murder to a simple assault. One of those crucial witnesses was a teacher called Kay Baker. 5 years later, Kay would be viciously murdered, having been virtually beheaded by Terry in a frenzied assault that bore an unsettling resemblance to his attack on Michelle Rogers. Kay Baker was discovered shortly after midnight on May 28th, 2022, by one of her neighbors in Lithia, Florida. The 43-year-old mother of 2 was barely clinging to life, having been stabbed multiple times in the neck and shoulder. Police subsequently stated that the deep and large wounds to her throat indicated that someone had attempted to sever her head completely. Florida prosecutor Justin Diaz painted a grim picture. Kay Baker is lying face down on the ground in the yard of her neighbor. With every beat of her heart, her life is ending. Earlier that evening, Kay had been enjoying drinks with Terry at a local bar. CCTV footage from inside the bar revealed that she nearly collided with another patron on her return from the loo. That's bathroom for the rest of us, and had jovially danced with the man for a few seconds as they figured out how to maneuver past each other. Well, that fleeting interaction was enough to ignite Terry's jealousy. After they got home, he grabbed a carving knife from a block and stabbed it multiple times into Kay's neck. Despite bleeding profusely, she managed to break through a window and stagger a short distance away from Terry before collapsing in a neighbor's garden. She died before medical assistance could arrive. When police arrived, they discovered a second trail of fluid leading from the house into nearby woodland, as he had done 5 years earlier following his assault on Michelle Rogers. Terry had also inflicted several cuts on himself, like that makes up for it. I suppose he's probably telling himself, bad boy, bad. Anyway, when located by police, he claimed that he had stabbed Kay in self-defense. I rather doubt that. In a chilling echo of the 2017 court case, Michelle Rogers testified at Terry's subsequent trial. Terry's defense team had tried to prevent her from taking the witness stand, but the judge ruled that she should be permitted to testify in court. She recounted to the jury how in March 2017 she and Terry had been cohabitating. After a St. Patrick's Day celebration at a pub, Terry suddenly became aggressive. He was taking both of his hands and grabbing my head and slamming it into the floor. So every time he would do that, my vision would go black, Michelle recounted through tears. Terry momentarily ceased his assault only to fetch a knife from the kitchen. The next thing you know, Mr. Terry comes around behind me and stabs me in the neck. Michelle managed to escape the house and was spotted by neighbors bleeding profusely, who alerted the police. Despite an attempted murder charge initially leveled against him, Terry's expensive lawyers succeeded in having it dismissed, resulting in a mere 3-year prison sentence for Terry. During the trial, Justin Diaz noted how Kay's testimony had aided Terry's defense. It was a hard thing to hear, to think that the woman who had died at the hands of Matthew Terry had previously gone to court, raised her right hand, and promised to tell the truth, and had defended him in a courtroom to say that ultimately he was a good guy and he would never do what he was accused of doing in Michigan. However, during the subsequent trial, the jury remained unconvinced and found Terry guilty of murder. Initial plans to enforce the death penalty were replaced with a life sentence at the behest of Kay's family. We're not really people who are hugely in favor of the death penalty, Christine Impey, Baker's stepmother, shared with the Tampa Bay Times. We just don't want him to get out. Yeah. Something about this family interferes with monsters getting the due punishment they deserve. But, well, maybe they'll keep him in, but that's really no guarantee. No guarantee at all.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
All right, that's it for Terry. So, I guess this woman had a thing for him, even when he was with the other woman that he tried to kill. And for whatever reason, well, I guess because she was into him, said, oh, he did. There's no way he did that. She must be making stuff up with all her bleeding and everything. And went to bat for him, And so he gets a very reduced sentence, and then he's out, and she's waiting for him, And then they started to see each other. But then she bumped into some guy at a bar and giggled about it. And that's all it took. And so Terry follows the same steps, where's the butcher knife? And he went and got it. And this time, well, I guess he was successful in killing his new girlfriend. And there you go. Yeah. Yeah. So, but still, yeah, he should have gotten the death penalty. Because, I mean, what else? What else do you have to do to warrant that? But of course, they say, well, I just fundamentally don't believe in that. I guess so. So, that's it for Terry. There he is, knife in hand, ready for murder. So anyway, I wonder if his current legal team was any more pricey than the previous one. Yeah. Not that it really matters at this point. Peanut Butter says, Ultimate Creeper, Doom! Bird64 says, Hi, Nodak, and hi, Doug. Hi, Bird64. Alexander, he stabbed her 7 times and it was downgraded to assault. Yes. I mean, I know they say, hey, those were expensive lawyers. Well, geez. They're able to sweet talk people out of anything, you know? So, but this time they were like, well, yeah, this time you killed her. So, I don't know that we can get you off of this one. Oh, man. And then he attacks his lawyers, you know. It is like, I'm not kidding. We really can't. We'll get rid of that one. Oh, yeah, here's the deal. You know, I know a certain amount of service is hard to come by and find and all that stuff, but you really can't start shooting at the repairman when he asks to be paid for his work. That's probably not an option. It doesn't look like it was in this case either, but, well.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Woman shot at repairman for charging $70 service fee to fix dryer. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, is that your negotiating tactic? Yeah. I mean, anyway, the 45-year-old woman will spend a decade behind bars for shooting at a repairman she called to look at her dryer, telling the man she was going to pop a cap in him after learning that he charged a $70 fee. Marion County Superior Judge Charles F. Miller sentenced Reba LaJoy Wilson to serve 10 years in a state correctional facility over the incident. Miller handed down the sentence after Wilson pled guilty to 1 count each of intimidation with the use of a deadly weapon and unlawful possession of a firearm by a serious violent felon. Oh, she's already been in the system, has she? In exchange for her plea, prosecutors agreed to drop additional charges of criminal confinement, criminal recklessness, and pointing a firearm at another. Okay. The sentence stems from a confrontation at Wilson's Indianapolis home in March 2024, when self-employed appliance repair technician Nathaniel Baird arrived to diagnose a clothes dryer that was not heating. After determining the problem, Baird told Wilson she owed the standard $70 house call fee. But Wilson refused to pay, reportedly claiming that the appliance was still under warranty. She said, "I don't want to pay that." I said, "Well, I don't work for free," Baird told the TV station that was covering the story. "So I went to leave, and she pointed a gun at me right in the front of her house and forced me to stay there and said, 'You're going to fix my dryer.'" Wilson blocked the front door while pointing a black and silver handgun at Baird, who pretended to get back to work before making a run for the back door. That's pretty bold, you know. But who knows? Probably saved his life. I don't know. As he fled, Wilson fired a shot in his direction while shouting, "You're lucky I don't kill you." And they offered a plea deal. I mean, she's right. She's probably just dumb luck that she missed, you know? Anyway, Baird told WTHR he never looked back at Wilson. Yeah, no, but heard one shot before she yelled, "I'll pop a cap in your ass." He escaped to his truck and called 911. Investigators later obtained a search warrant for the home, where they recovered a black and silver Smith & Wesson handgun hidden beneath a couch and found a spent shell casing resting on top of a broken dryer door in the kitchen. Well, isn't that perfect? Bookends the whole story, doesn't it? When she encountered police outside her residence, Wilson initially denied that anything untoward had taken place. During her sentencing hearing, Wilson asked the court to impose home detention instead of prison, telling the judge she suffers from multiple sclerosis and needs access to proper medical care. Well, they have health facilities in prison, don't they? Well, the judge declined, reportedly describing Wilson as unworthy of community corrections. Miller emphasized that Wilson had 8 prior convictions and that she had been wanted on an outstanding warrant for nearly a year before her arrest. I mean, that's just shocking, isn't it? Oh, man. Over $70, you decided to pull a gun on a guy, hold him basically prisoner until he escaped, shot at him, and he still had the audacity to say, hey, look, I don't need no prison time. Just give me house arrest. $70. Yeah. Oh, well. At least the guy got out mostly unscathed, so there is that. But, and this is the inevitable end for Ms. Wilson.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Well,
This
how
is a
about
Nailsin
that?
News Bulletin.
Yeah, I'll go away. So, I don't know. I mean, it was a house call fee. Yeah. So I guess normally you're supposed to hoist it up in a truck and haul it over to the place and they work on it there. But instead, hey, I'll come to your house and look at it. And, well, that was the deal. But for some reason, she had it in her head. Oh, for the warranty. She thought, hey, it's under warranty. But said he's a self-employed repairman, so I don't know if that's like the warranty would be good at the store that you purchased it from or the company or what have you. But to just look up some guy who works on dryers, that he's not obligated to honor that unless he was contracted by the company and sent out to deal with it. But she decides, you know what? I'm going to pull the gun on him. You're going to fix my dryer, or it might just be the last thing you do. And said she'd put a cap in his ass. She missed. And she really lucked out that she missed. And of course, all the priors and whatnot decided now would be a good time to threaten a repairman with a gun, And, well, it all worked out. Put all the details of her dreadlocks here. Get each and every little notch all in there. There we go. There she is. But anyway, what about her multiple sclerosis? Oh, no. Well, all right. So that's, what was her name? Winslow or something? I forgot. Shows you what I know. Well, that's that one. But there's other nightmarish tales. Like, suddenly you get that feeling someone's watching you, and then you
you're in bed trying to sleep and you wake up and, oh, someone is.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Woman wakes up to man standing over her before he covers her mouth and starts strangling her. There you go. Talk about the stuff of nightmares, you know. Anyway, Idaho man allegedly broke into a woman's home in the middle of the night and tried to rape her while she was sleeping, as a child also slept in a nearby room. Tyler Humphreys, 39, stands accused of attempted rape, attempted strangulation, domestic violence. Do they know each other? I guess we'll find out. I guess domestic violence, battery, and burglary. Anyway, the woman reportedly told cops she woke up to Humphrey standing over her with his pants down. He said he was going to rape her until she told him the truth. Humphreys then allegedly got on top of her and tried to sexually assault her. The victim screamed for help, but Humphreys covered her mouth and began choking her. She escaped his grasp and ran into a child's room. The child wrapped the victim in a blanket and confronted Humphreys. Humphreys reportedly slammed the child against the wall and fled. Cops responded and saw the victim had bruising on her thigh. She also had said her throat felt like it was burning. She was taken to the hospital where doctors noted her airway was in danger of closing. Good Lord. So the suspect was arrested when he returned to the home later that morning. Upon his arrest, he was allegedly found in possession of some marijuana and a glass pipe typically used to smoke methamphetamine. In interviews with police, he claimed he was just trying to cuddle with the victim, but then admitted to assaulting her. The relationship between the suspect and victim was not immediately clear. Well, it sounds like there's some relationship here. You know, I mean, maybe as far as she was concerned, it was over. But he returns to the same place. Was he living there? Or maybe did live there at one point? Seems likely, something of that nature, you know. Anyway, Humphreys was arrested and taken to the Bonneville County Jail, where he remains, because, yeah, odds are he's pretty dangerous. But then again, you know, it seems his obsession or target was this woman in particular, so odds are, yeah, there's some sort of relationship there. They were together, but they broke up because, you know, she figured out he's nuts, and then he just breaks into her bedroom and, you know. Yeah, I don't think he thought this through, but, I mean, he thought something through, but not all the way to the ultimate consequence, you know. So anyway, I wonder if he's the father of the child. Yeah. I mean, there's, you know, it says, hey, it's unclear what the relationship is, so it's possible, I suppose, that could be the case as well. But, well, he's got another place to stay at for the time being, and probably for a very extended amount of time following that. Yeah.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Yeah, it's not something you want to wake up to, you know. But unfortunately, these things do happen. I suppose he says he wanted her to tell the truth. So that's a bit odd. The truth about what? Perhaps she does know what he's talking about. But then he said, I just wanted to cuddle. Yeah. Says, I'm lonely and I miss her. And I just wanted to cuddle. And yeah, it's just probably not the best move. And certainly not in this case. I mean, look where he is. So, yeah, it didn't work out. So, I don't know. What was the truth? maybe he was under the impression the kid was his, but later discovered nope, something like that. It's one of those weird things. Seems like that would be pretty easy to determine in reporting on one of these stories. They say, oh, yeah, they were together and then they broke up and she kicked him out of the house or whatever, and he wasn't supposed to be there, but then he just breaks in and attacks her, which, explains why she wanted him out of the house. And then, it didn't really help his problem. I don't know that she ever spoke any truth that he wanted to learn. And he certainly didn't get the cuddling that he wanted, I mean, of course, the joke will be he can get plenty of that in prison. But yeah, this didn't work out for him. He does look deranged. So seems like that would have been the clue from the get-go. But she's like, oh boy, do I know how to pick them. Yeah. And, but perhaps this now means it's over for the time being, odds are he won't be getting out soon. So there's that, not necessarily to look forward to, but, let's see. I can probably, I can. What am I doing? I can move this one up here. That ought to work. Yeah, this is a gruesome story. Probably should have been the first one, the most horrendous. So there we go. There's Mr. Cuddles. That's his drawing. And now on to our next contestant.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
41-year-old wife slaughtered her 82-year-old husband, then showed up on neighbor's doorstep with 13-inch kitchen knife and a self-defense story. She's 41. He was 82. Okay. So, a 41-year-old Arizona woman slaughtered her 82-year-old husband, then showed up at a neighbor's doorstep with a 13-inch knife and blood all over her, claiming she went ballistic and stabbed her elderly spouse in self-defense. Christina Copley is charged with murder after killing her husband, Ed Copley, at their home in Mesa at around 10:30 p.m. Christina allegedly admitted to stabbing her husband and told cops it was because he had come after her first with a knife. The defendant described that she removed the knife from the victim and went ballistic and started swinging to get away while he held onto her shoulders. She also admitted to taking the knife to her neighbor's house after the incident. Yeah, what'd you do that for? I get maybe she wasn't sure he was dead yet. Anyway, Christina Copley's neighbor in the gated community of Windsong at Las Cindas told police she showed up on their doorstep holding the knife and covered in blood. She allegedly had blood on her face, neck, arms, and legs. At least 2 people were at the residence and saw Christina Copley. The defendant entered the residence, sat in the living room. She got blood on everything, and made statements to the neighbor that she had stabbed her husband and he was deceased. All right, then. And why did you bring the knife to I don't know. Anyway, the document explains, noting how the neighbor immediately contacted police. Oh, yeah. The neighbor disclosed that the defendant had previously come to her residence periodically for the past 4 months and had made statements that her husband abused her, was a child molester, abused her daughter, and forced her to have sexual intercourse with him. However, the defendant's statements would change, be inconsistent, or not make sense during those disclosures. It was also known that the defendant suffered from an unknown mental health diagnosis and was previously prescribed lithium. Well, officers arrived at the scene and found Ed Copley dead on the floor next to his bed with a large quantity of blood around him. He appeared to have been stabbed numerous times in the neck, face, and sternum. Cops asked Christina Copley what happened, and she allegedly told them at first that she did not kill her husband. She claimed that Ed Copley came at her with a knife, and she suffered injuries to her hand while taking it from him. Christina Copley pointed to a tear in her pants. Well, there you go, strong evidence, as well as a long, thin abrasion down her chest, which she said were caused by Ed Copley trying to stab her. However, police say there was no laceration or skin injuries underneath the tear in the pants, and the abrasion appeared to be caused by a fingernail scratch. Well, wait a minute. Did Ed Copley have long fingernails? Anyway, Christina Copley allegedly claimed that earlier in the day, Ed Copley kicked her and called her racist names. She said he abused her often, and her actions were self-defense. It should also be noted that there are prior calls for service involving domestic violence issues between the defendant and victim, which led to the defendant being arrested. Oh, so he called the police on her for domestic violence. Yeah, he's saying he started out trying to stab her, but he's woefully unsuccessful in this, and yet she's able to, stab his neck, his chest. What was the other thing? Face. Yeah. She's able to do all of that, but well, of course, he was 82 years old. Probably much slower. Yeah. Anyway, Christina Copley was booked into the Maricopa County Jail on second-degree murder charges. She was being held on a cash-only $500,000 bond. A little cheap, if you ask me, but no one does. So anyway, look, all suspects are innocent until proven guilty, but looks like, batshit crazy and murdered her old sugar daddy, and that's it. Afraid so.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
41-year-old wife slaughtered her 82-year-old husband, then showed up on neighbor's doorstep with 13-inch kitchen knife and a self-defense story. She's 41. He was 82. Okay. So, a 41-year-old Arizona woman slaughtered her 82-year-old husband, then showed up at a neighbor's doorstep with a 13-inch knife and blood all over her, claiming she went ballistic and stabbed her elderly spouse in self-defense. Christina Copley is charged with murder after killing her husband, Ed Copley, at their home in Mesa at around 10:30 p.m. Christina allegedly admitted to stabbing her husband and told cops it was because he had come after her first with a knife. The defendant described that she removed the knife from the victim and went ballistic and started swinging to get away while he held onto her shoulders. She also admitted to taking the knife to her neighbor's house after the incident. Yeah, what'd you do that for? I get maybe she wasn't sure he was dead yet. Anyway, Christina Copley's neighbor in the gated community of Windsong at Las Cindas told police she showed up on their doorstep holding the knife and covered in blood. She allegedly had blood on her face, neck, arms, and legs. At least 2 people were at the residence and saw Christina Copley. The defendant entered the residence, sat in the living room, she got blood on everything, and made statements to the neighbor that she had stabbed her husband, and he was deceased. All right, then, and why did you bring the knife to I don't know. Anyway, the document explains, noting how the neighbor immediately contacted police. Well, yeah. The neighbor disclosed that the defendant had previously come to her residence periodically for the past 4 months and had made statements that her husband abused her, was a child molester, abused her daughter, and forced her to have sexual intercourse with him. However, the defendant's statements would change, be inconsistent, or not make sense during those disclosures. It was also known that the defendant suffered from an unknown mental health diagnosis and was previously prescribed lithium. Well, officers arrived at the scene and found Ed Copley dead on the floor next to his bed with a large quantity of blood around him. He appeared to have been stabbed numerous times in the neck, face, and sternum. Cops asked Christina Copley what happened, and she allegedly told them at first that she did not kill her husband. She claimed that Ed Copley came at her with a knife, and she suffered injuries to her hand while taking it from him. Christina Copley pointed to a tear in her pants. Well, there you go, strong evidence, as well as a long, thin abrasion down her chest, which she said were caused by Ed Copley trying to stab her. However, police say there was no laceration or skin injuries underneath the tear in the pants, and the abrasion appeared to be caused by a fingernail scratch. Well, wait a minute. Did Ed Copley have long fingernails? Anyway, Christina Copley allegedly claimed that earlier in the day, Ed Copley kicked her and called her racist names. She said he abused her often, and her actions were self-defense. It should also be noted that there are prior calls for service involving domestic violence issues between the defendant and victim, which led to the defendant being arrested. Oh, so he called the police on her for domestic violence. Yeah. She's saying he started out trying to stab her, but he's woefully unsuccessful in this, and yet she's able to, stab his neck, his chest. What was the other thing? Face. Yeah. She's able to do all of that, but well, of course, he was 82 years old, probably much slower. Yeah. Anyway, Christina Copley was booked into the Maricopa County Jail on second-degree murder charges. She was being held on a cash-only $500,000 bond. A little cheap, if you ask me, but no one does. So anyway, look, all suspects are innocent until proven guilty, but looks like, batshit crazy and murdered her old sugar daddy, and that's it. Afraid so.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
So it's sad, a May-December relationship that had to end that way. And now her sugar daddy is the state. Alexandria, so this is what happened to the Maytag repairman? No wonder he disappeared. He kept getting shot. Doug, what is the proportional math when trying to draw a beautiful lady with a dong asking for a friend? I wouldn't know. Jeez. I mean, I could just draw a beautiful lady and then suddenly there's an appendage. Anyway, Alexandria says, I can see him holding the knife and his walker slowly coming after her. Yeah, eventually he was going to get there. So plus she's got to get through that walker, so there was that extra barrier. So it made it tough on her. She's lucky to be alive. Pull the 13th, Doug. Hell you, man. Well, I don't know. Sometimes, yeah, I'm fine. Peanut butter. Something like that. Peanut butter says, that bitch looks scary, Doug. I'm going to have nightmares about that finger pointing. Yeah, I know. For some reason, I just thought that's the pose she probably took when she was coming at him, you know. Of course, she's already got the blood puddle underneath her. When I put it in Photoshop and color it and stuff, there'll be blood splattered all over her shirt and everything. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like, don't you fuck with me, you know. And she's nuts, you know, just absolutely nuts. But I guess she charmed this old fool, you know, the poor bastard. And I said, well, I just want to take care of her. And well, you know, that's too bad. Look, I understand you're a lonely old man and some younger woman, at least she's around to wipe your ass when you can't and all that sort of stuff. But you got a question as to why she would be so willing to come into this relationship. And oh, good Lord, she's nuts. You know, either that or do you have a lot of money? That usually helps out. Okay.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
A woman had drugs hidden everywhere, all at once. Yes, that's right. A woman arrested for drug trafficking had fentanyl stashed in her buttocks, vagina, and right breast area when the car she was traveling in was pulled over during a recent late-night traffic stop. Cops in St. Petersburg, Florida, pulled over the vehicle for a window tint violation and subsequently busted driver Curtail McCrae, 46, on a resisting charge. After police directed passenger Yanish Smith, 26, to step out of the car, they spotted plastic baggies containing a white rock-like substance near the passenger seat and on the ground where Smith exited. Referring to the drugs on the passenger side, McCrae, cops said, spontaneously declared she needs to take responsibility for her stuff. While being escorted to a police van, a baggie with a rock-like substance dropped from Smith's person. Smith reportedly admitted that the baggie fell from her ass. As Smith was being booked into custody, corrections officers recovered a baggie containing numerous multicolored pills from the defendant's vaginal cavity. Finally, an additional bag of drugs was retrieved from Smith's right breast area. The confiscated items tested positive for the synthetic opioid fentanyl. The stash resulted in Smith's jailing on a pair of felony counts: drug trafficking and possession of a controlled substance in a detention facility. She is also facing a probation violation, you don't say, for a charge since at the time of her July 11th arrest, Smith had just begun serving a 2-year probation sentence in connection with her conviction earlier this year for grand theft and dealing in stolen property. Oh, well. Now she's got, you know, an addition to the record. You know? Yeah. But she found a lot of places to put stuff. You know? She sure did.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
It just turns itself off, does it?
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Oh, well. Yeah, she found multiple places. The buet, the vajayjay, and then she's like, "Oh damn, I still got more stuff." Well, I do have tits, so she put it. I guess eventually she would have had some for the other breast as well, but she got caught, and the jail's like, "Hey, welcome back." Yeah. It didn't say if she's has just been serving a 2-year probation in connection with a conviction for grand theft and dealing in stolen property. Okay. So I assume the property did not involve any drug paraphernalia. So it's probably unlikely that she had that, shoved up her ass or anything like that. Yeah. I mean, depending on the reasonable size thereof of the items. Yeah. So, but anyway, it didn't work out so great for the Smith. What's her name? No, Curtel McCrae was the driver, I think. Yonish. Yonish. Yeah, Yonish. And she's, huh? No, I'm just saying your name. Oh. She had her orifices filled to the brim with pills and the like, for later. And, well, you get pulled over. One thing leads to another. Next thing, well, what's this? And then you're walking around after being searched at the jail, and then plop, there goes another. Oh, what's this? Yeah. I mean, she had to have thought, that's a relief. I mean, don't, but I gotta admit, it feels better now that it's out. Now, of course, it's like the part of the charges is, bringing in, controlled substances into a correctional facility or whatever. And she's like, well, I didn't want to be in a correctional facility. So, see, that's on them. She was keeping that for later. She didn't mean for it to end up in a jailhouse, But they're going to charge her with it anyway. Poor Yonish. She just wanted to have some fun. Is that too much to ask? Well, I guess the county says, yes, it's too much to ask. So anyway, I got the drawing here. They don't have any, I don't think they do, any like skirts for jail uniforms. Maybe they do. But here's the little baggies just falling out of her ass with you got your pills here. Maybe. I don't know. Another little baggie. Here we go. All the candy came out. When your orifices let you down. Why can't they keep things concealed? But no, it didn't. Well, anyway, that's it for your niche. Not your niche in particular, but, well. All right, I got rid of that one. What's this one? Oh, there's a few more commentary. Peanut Butter says, oh, I already read that one. Alexander says, her butt crack. Maybe a little deeper. I don't know. Peanut Butter, you have to really get it up there. No half-assing. Rookies. So you think it was just in the crack? Yeah, probably. She wasn't dedicated, and now she has paid the price. Alexandria says she was a living dispensary. Where did she keep the aspirin? Well, I probably don't want to know, especially like, oh man, I got this headache. It's killing me. And then Yonish goes, oh, hey, hang on a minute. Reaches up her ass, pulls out a baggie of painkillers, This will take care of that. Is what she's going to be offended. You don't think my booty's sweet? Probably not.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
A man concedes to being stupid after shooting two friends while messing around with a gun. A 21-year-old man in Indiana is accused of drunkenly playing with a handgun before shooting two of his friends as they were laying in bed together, telling police it was 100% on me, and I was a complete fucking idiot. Joshua Ledford is charged in Marion County with 2 counts of battery by means of a deadly weapon and 1 count of criminal recklessness for allegedly firing into an occupied dwelling. The shooting happened shortly before 2 a.m. at a home in the 1000 block of Denison Street on Indianapolis West Side. Officers with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department responded to reports of a person shot and found 2 victims, a man and a woman, suffering from gunshot wounds. Both victims were taken to a local hospital in stable condition. They have been since released and are recovering at home. According to a probable cause affidavit cited by the TV station's witnesses told investigators Ledford had been drinking with the victims and had been handling a black handgun recklessly throughout the night. And so they decided to just go to bed with him stumbling around with that? Well, they'd been drinking too, so. One witness said she had seen him behave similarly on previous occasions. Another witness, Brazanne Brown, told WXIN that those inside the home repeatedly warned Ledford to stop waving the gun around. We had asked him to stop messing around with the firearm, and he said, "No, I can do what I want. It's Indiana." One of the victims told investigators she and the male victim had gone into a bedroom to, relax. When Ledford entered carrying the handgun, she said he began playing with the weapon, pointing it at both of them before it discharged. Ledford struck the male victim in the arm and the female victim in the armpit. Oh, jeez. Oof. Well, after the shot was fired, another witness reportedly told police Ledford attempted to get into her vehicle, leading her to believe he was trying to leave the scene. But she refused to let him in the car. Police detained Ledford outside the residence moments later. In a subsequent interview, he allegedly admitted responsibility for the shooting, telling detectives, "It was 100% on me. I was a complete fucking idiot." Just an idiot. He also allegedly admitted, "I was being stupid with the gun," adding that, "sometimes when I get drunk, I play around with the clip." Ledford allegedly went on to acknowledge he had been being a dumbass at the house and playing around with the gun, while maintaining he never intended to fire the weapon or injure anyone. Well, speaking to WXIN after the shooting, Indiana police officer Tommy Thompson said incidents like this are entirely avoidable. Yeah, but not with idiots. We have to be responsible with our firearms. Again, the man is a confessed idiot, so this could have killed someone. Oh, yeah. Thankfully, this did not kill these individuals, but if we're not responsible with our guns, that bullet is going to travel somewhere. This is true. Into an arm and an armpit. Well, Ledford made his court appearance and was released to home confinement after posting $8,000 bond. Still, though, I know he was drunk and he's a confessed idiot, but you think he was jealous of the guy who was in bed with the girl and he had intentions for the lady here? Yeah. It's probably something like that. Oh, well, anyway, probably if he ever had a chance, he certainly doesn't now. It's just mere speculation, of course. But, damn, shot her in the armpit. Oof.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Yeah. But at least, he's willing to take responsibility for it and said, I'm an idiot. And that should work out. I don't think there'll be any, disagreements there. Oh, no, it's not you. It's okay, it's you. Alexandria, what goes on at Indiana? I don't know. He seems to think that because it was Indiana, he can just wave a loaded weapon at people. Alexandria, isn't that where Children of the Corn are? Yeah, maybe so. All right. Now for science. Oh, I gotta move this one over here, huh? There you go.
This is a Nailsin News
I guess
Bulletin.
I think that's what I'll do. Go ahead. Take a little
Doctors
break.
thought man had deadly brain. Doctors thought man had deadly brain cancer. But the reality was much grosser. When a man in Spain went to the hospital with chronic headaches, brain scans showed poorly defined lesions or tissue where the edges are blurred due to abnormal cell growth. Doctors believed all signs were pointing to deadly cancer that had spread until they took a closer look. The good news? He could be cured. The bad news? The real problem would make most people squirm. After an initial scan, the medical team performed a higher resolution MRI to determine the location of any tumors. While no tumors were present, a different kind of specimen was. Pork tapeworm larvae. Published in the journal Emerging Infectious Diseases, the report confirmed the parasitic infection with a blood test specific to Taenia solium, despite the 60-year-old Castilian native having never traveled abroad. The parasite enters the human body when larval eggs are swallowed, and they burrow into the gut and form fluid-filled cysts. The eggs can then develop into adult tapeworms in a human's gut. The process usually takes around 5 to 12 weeks. The cysts can travel anywhere in the body and can infiltrate and calcify in soft tissue. While eating undercooked pork is one way to ingest adult tapeworms, the man's condition was from ingesting the eggs, which then settled in the brain, a condition called neurocytocirrhosis. Jeez. Well, the parasitic infection of the brain can cause headaches. Yeah, I guess so. They're wiggling around in there. Seizures, dizziness, muscle weakness, trouble speaking, and memory issues. If left untreated, neurocytosis can cause life-threatening complications such as intracranial hypertension or increased pressure inside the skull and continuous seizures. While cases are rare in Europe, they're not entirely unknown, as a similar case occurred in Germany earlier this year. According to the World Health Organization, around 2.8 million people are infected with Taenia solium yearly, with cases frequently reported in Asia, South America, and Eastern Europe. Treatment can differ depending on the patient, but anti-parasitic drugs are often a first line of therapy, as was the case with the Spanish man who was treated with albendazole and praziquantel. Sure, we'll go with that. Other treatments may include anti-inflammatory medication to reduce inflammation and drugs to manage symptoms of seizures, headaches, and pressure inside the skull. Last year, another case of a pork tapeworm infection went viral when Sam Golly, an emergency room doctor, shared the seriously disturbing scan on X. He described it as one of the most insane X-rays he's ever seen, noting that the entire cross-section of the patient's trunk was riddled with the parasite. The unidentified patient likely developed the condition after eating raw or uncooked pork infected with the parasite's larval cysts. Well, when it comes to pork, cook it. For God's sakes, what is it with people who want to eat raw meat? I mean, it's as if you want the damn parasites. But how many people? I mean, all right, you thought it was cancer. It sounds like it would have been terminal if it was. But then you get the good news. Instead, it's not cancer. You've got worms.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Doctors thought man had deadly brain cancer.
Well, that's enough of that. Good Lord. Worms. And in that picture of the other guy, those worms were all over the place in that guy. I mean, that's a lot of bloody pork. Damn. And why? They want worms. Why would you want worms? I think there's something wrong with you. So pretty disgusting. Did this guy just, I don't know, shredded pork type thing, and it wasn't all the way cooked, but it had all this barbecue sauce on it, so he didn't realize it, and he just munched it all down, and then he's consuming worms, and then the little worms swam up to his brain and end up in there, and he's like, oh, headaches, oh, and they're like, oh, crap, it's probably cancer, and then they're like, okay, it's not. Oh, thank God. Well, what's the problem? You've got worms. And so then they have to put him through the cow chute and shoot his ass up full of dewormer, stuff like that, And then stop eating raw pork. It's not that hard. You really, really should. But, of course, could have been fooled if they smothered it in barbecue sauce. It made like a sloppy Joe out of it. And he thought, this will be cool. And he just wolfed it all down, Probably it's pretty tasty. And then now you pay the price. And you pay that price in worms. So I guess I could draw the worm for that one. I think there was a similar story. I think I already have a worm cartoon that I drew. I can look that up and stick it into that story when it's in its full, ready for prime time news video that I don't know what I'll do with. Anyway, okay. We've got two, perhaps, performance artists here of our next stories. We'll close out the show on those. So let's get into that.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Women say a mime terrorized them, stripped to his underwear, and covered himself in cooking oil. That's probably all a part of the act, surely. Anyway, a man who dressed up as a mime before allegedly terrorizing women on a trail in Massachusetts is facing criminal harassment charges. Prosecutors allege that Hernan Villagran Lux, 29, is accused by 3 female Department of Conservation and Recreation employees of having stripped to his underwear and slathered cooking oil all over his body in front of him. According to the local Boston 25 news outlet, he is now charged with 3 counts of criminal harassment, to which he has pled not guilty. See, it's probably just a misunderstanding. It was an artistic performance. That's probably what he was doing. The women report on extensive number of contacts with the defendant involving him staring at them, smiling in what they describe as a really unnerving and frankly terrifying manner, Prosecutor Andrew Mange said in court. The suspect had previously been seen dressed as a mime on the Cochituate Rail Trail, probably getting that completely wrong, in Framingham by several others. Well, again, he's a mime. It's probably his act, I've seen this person walk by, Dahlia Stewart told Boston 25. In fact, I've seen this person walk on the main street, and I've always asked myself, why is he dressed like that? Well, at least he was dressed, Another person said she saw Villagran Lux maybe 5 times, while someone else also recognized his memorable attire. He passed me when I was going down the path, Chris Neofostis said per NBC 10. Kind of freaked me out a bit. Top hat, Dracula paint on his face, black cape, cane. Real creepy. According to the Globe, after Villagran Lux pleaded not guilty, a judge sent him to a state hospital for a mental health evaluation to determine if he is competent to stand trial. Well, what was your first clue? The costume? The makeup? The cooking oil? Well, probably all of the above. But again, he could say, look, I'm a performance artist. And I thought I was going to get some tips out of the deal. Instead, I get arrested. Man, life's hard on a mime.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Women say a mime terrorized him, stripped to his underwear, and covered himself in cooking oil. That's probably all a part of the act, surely. Anyway, a man who dressed up as a mime before allegedly terrorizing women on a trail in Massachusetts is facing criminal harassment charges. Prosecutors allege that Hernan Villagran Lux, 29, is accused by 3 female Department of Conservation and Recreation employees of having stripped to his underwear and slathered cooking oil all over his body in front of him. According to the local Boston 25 news outlet, he is now charged with 3 counts of criminal harassment, to which he has pled not guilty. See, it's probably just a misunderstanding. It was an artistic performance. That's probably what he was doing. The women report on extensive number of contacts with the defendant involving him staring at them, smiling in what they describe as a really unnerving and frankly terrifying manner, Prosecutor Andrew Mange said in court. The suspect had previously been seen dressed as a mime on the Cochituate Rail Trail, probably getting that completely wrong, in Framingham by several others. Well, again, he's a mime. It's probably his act, you know. I've seen this person walk by, Dahlia Stewart told Boston 25. In fact, I've seen this person walk on the main street, and I've always asked myself, like, why is he dressed like that? Well, at least he was dressed, you know. Another person said she saw Villigren Lux maybe like 5 times, while someone else also recognized his memorable attire. He passed me when I was going down the path, Chris Neofostis said per NBC 10. Kind of freaked me out a bit. Top hat, Dracula paint on his face, black cape, cane. Real creepy. According to the Globe, after Villigren Lux pleaded not guilty, a judge sent him to a state hospital for a mental health evaluation to determine if he is competent to stand trial. Well, what was your first clue? The costume? The makeup? The cooking oil? Well, probably all of the above. But again, he could say, look, I'm a performance artist. And I thought I was going to get some tips out of the deal. Instead, I get arrested. Man, life's hard on a mime.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Women say a mime terrorized them, stripped to his underwear, and covered himself in cooking oil. That's probably all a part of the act, you know, surely. Anyway, a man who dressed up as a mime before allegedly terrorizing women on a trail in Massachusetts is facing criminal harassment charges. Prosecutors allege that Hernan Villigren Lux, 29, is accused by 3 female Department of Conservation and Recreation employees of having stripped to his underwear and slathered cooking oil all over his body in front of him. According to the local Boston 25 news outlet, he is now charged with 3 counts of criminal harassment, to which he has pled not guilty. See, it's probably just a misunderstanding. It was an artistic performance. That's probably what he was doing. The women report on extensive number of contacts with the defendant involving him staring at them, smiling in what they describe as a really unnerving and frankly terrifying manner, Prosecutor Andrew Mange said in court. The suspect had previously been seen dressed as a mime on the Cochituate Rail Trail, probably getting that completely wrong, in Framingham by several others. Well, again, he's a mime. It's probably his act, you know. I've seen this person walk by, Dahlia Stewart told Boston 25. In fact, I've seen this person walk on the main street, and I've always asked myself, like, why is he dressed like that? Well, at least he was dressed, you know. Another person said she saw Villigren Lux maybe like 5 times, while someone else also recognized his memorable attire. He passed me when I was going down the path, Chris Neofostis said per NBC 10, kind of freaked me out a bit. Top hat, Dracula paint on his face, black cape, cane, real creepy. According to the Globe, after Villegren Lux pleaded not guilty, a judge sent him to a state hospital for a mental health evaluation to determine if he is competent to stand trial. Well, what was your first clue? The costume? The makeup? The cooking oil? Well, probably all of the above. But again, he could say, look, I'm a performance artist. And I thought I was going to get some tips out of the deal. Instead, I get arrested. Man, life's hard on a mime.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. This is a Nailsin News.
All right, so there you go. Is it a performance art? Misunderstood? Could it be something like that? We may never know, because unfortunately he can't speak in his defense against the mime rules, you know. Although he could communicate through his mime stuff. I don't know how you do it where they act like they put themselves into a box, you know. And then, see, now I'm in jail. You don't have to put me in one. Bull the 13th says, oh, Alexandria, waving back. Bull the 13th, I love me some sloppy joes. Yeah, sure. I mean, who does it? Just, you know, hold the worms. Bull 13th and soggy joes. Oh. Bull 13th, a staring mime? Interesting. Yeah, I know. I mean, see, how do you know? How do you know he was being creepy? Well, I mean, I guess, you know, stripping down to his underwear and cooking oil. Put cooking oil all over himself. Said, hey, I got something hot for you now, ladies. Bull 13th, a great name for a band. The Staring Mimes. Yeah, it could work. Alexander, maybe he was trying to create a new scary trail myth like Bigfoot. Oily mime. Yeah, the oily mime. So we'll have the Patterson film of the oily mime walking through the woods. But anyway, of course, he doesn't really walk. He just starts making motions like he's walking in place, you know. I think that's one of the gimmicks they do. But I guess they weren't fans of it, you know. So I guess maybe if he just keeps the clothes on and forgets about the cooking oil, maybe that'll work. But, you know, it's going to be tough for him. I mean, that's his whole act. They're demanding that he not be true to his artistic vision. So, but, yeah, you got to suffer for your art and stuff. Like me, I'm drawing these pictures while I sit in this chair. And after a while, it gets painful. See? You got to suffer for the art. All right, final story. The Spearman. Yeah, the Spearman.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Spearman busted for exposing his spear. After repeatedly hectoring a woman for photos of her feet, a Florida man allegedly exposed himself and then followed the victim around a Lowe's store before fleeing. The aptly named Landon Spearman, 20, was arrested for indecent exposure in connection with the creepy incident at the business in Lady Lake, an Orlando suburb. As detailed in an arrest report, the victim told cops she was completing an Instacart delivery at Lowe's when an unknown man approached her and repeatedly requested photographs of her feet. After declining the man's request, She accepted his phone number in an effort to end the encounter and continue working. As she walked away, the man, later identified as Spearman, called out to her. When the victim turned around, Spearman intentionally exposed his flaccid penis and declared, "Call me for some dick." The victim said that Spearman then followed her into Lowe's until she approached a group of customers, causing him to leave the area. I assume he put it back in his pants at that point, Anyway, during a subsequent police interview, Spearman reportedly made admissions that substantially corroborated the victim's account of the incident. Spearman was then arrested and booked into the county jail, from which he was later released on $1,000 bond. This really is quite creepy. I guess since he didn't touch her or anything like that, they let him go on $1,000. But anyway, look, I know it's tough out there in the dating scene and whatnot. You want to meet people, and you got to come up with a better way to break the ice. You don't go up and say, "Can I have pictures of your feet?" And then she doesn't seem to be, inclined to do that. Then you think, "Well, what's my next trick?" I know. You don't just whip it out, but he did. But then again, his name is Spearman. So, I guess it was, destiny.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
All right, that's
This
it for
is a Nailsin
this
News
edition of
Bulletin.
Nailsin News. And I'll just finish up the drawing here of
Spearman
Spearman.
busted for
I'll put
exposing
the
his
hell, I
spear.
guess it needs to be a little
After
bit lower than
repeatedly
that.
hectoring a woman for photos of her feet,
here.
a Florida man
censored,
allegedly exposed himself and then
bar,
followed the victim around a Lowe's store before fleeing.
something like that.
The aptly named
then,
Landon Spearman
He's
claimed
like,
was
"I'm
arrested for indecent exposure in
Spearman."
connection with the creepy incident at the business in
Oh,
Lady
you got
Lake
it. You want dick?
in Orlando.
You
suburb.
gotta call
As
me.
detailed in an arrest report,
you
the
gonna
victim
get
told
some
cops she
dick.
was completing an
Yeah.
Instacart delivery
That's
at
what
Lowe's when
Spearman
an unknown
is
man
all about.
approached her and repeatedly requested photographs of her feet.
No. I still want to get those pictures of your
After
feet.
declining the man's request, she accepted his phone number in an
That's
effort to
the-
end the
the feet
encounter
thing,
and
yeah.
continue working. As she
That's a-
walked away, the man,
this is a weird
later
one.
identified as
I mean,
Spearman,
in the media,
called
you
out to
think,
her. When the victim
well,
turned
it's weird,
around,
but it's
Spearman
not all that threatening.
intentionally
But then it's like,
exposed his
one
flaccid
thing leads to
penis
another. You know?
and declared,
It's like
"Call
1 minute
me for some."
you're giving them
dick."
pictures of your feet.
The victim said
next
that
minute,
Spearman then followed
You wake
her
up in
into
their
Lowe's
dungeon that they
until she
built in their,
approached a
the
group
back of their
customers,
garage,
causing
you know?
him to leave the area.
Yeah. This is your life now.
Put it back in
You're
his
going to
pants
stay
at that
here.
point,
Pleasure
Anyway,
me with
during
your
a
feet.
subsequent police interview, Spearman reportedly made admissions that substantially corroborated
And
the victim's
that's how
account of the
Spearman
incident.
rolls.
Spearman was then
But
arrested.
unfortunately,
and
it didn't
booked
get
into
to
the
that
county
point,
jail, from which
But
he
of
was later
course, they
released
figured, well,
on $1,000 bond.
he didn't do anything. He was weird, decent exposure, so we can get him on that.
This really
But
is quite
he's not
creepy.
gonna do serious time about it.
I guess since he didn't touch her or anything like that.
So you got to wait for him to actually abduct a
they let him
woman,
go on $1,000.
put her in his dungeon, and then you
But
got it.
anyway, look, I know it's tough out there.
Unless
in the dating
there's
scene and
some
whatnot. You wanna-
mitigating
you wanna,
circumstances.
meet people and
he doesn't have an
you gotta
outlet
come up
for
with a
his
better
foot
way to break
fetish.
the
It's
ice.
not
You
fair.
don't go up and say, "Can I have
Oh,
pictures
poor
of your
guy.
feet?"
And
then
people just
she
aren't
doesn't seem to
respecting
be,
his spear.
Inclined to do
And
that.
by people,
And
they
then you
just
think, well, what's my
mean,
next
you know,
trick?
women.
I know.
And
I mean, you don't
he
just,
just thought,
whip it out, but he did.
women who go to
again,
Lowe's, they're into that
His
sort of
name
thing,
is
right?
Spearman.
You know, they're in there.
I
They're
guess
looking
it
for
was,
tools
destiny.
and other items.
This has been
Yeah.
a Nailsin News
They're down for the
Bulletin.
showing feet. Yeah. Well, it didn't work out. Somewhere out there, some woman is longing for some guy.
This is a
Ass.
Nailsin News Bulletin.
Pictures of her feet. And willing to drop his pants
Spearman
and flash his
busted for
junk at her.
exposing
And then
his
she's
spear.
like, oh my
After
God,
repeatedly
where
hectoring
have
the
you
woman for
been
photos
all
of her
my
feet.
life?
A Florida man.
But unfortunately, she
allegedly
wasn't there at
exposed
Lowe's
himself and then
that afternoon.
followed the victim around a
day,
Lowe's
whatever
store
it was.
before fleeing.
And
The aptly named Landon
was
Spearman,
the Instacart girl
20, was arrested
was,
for indecent exposure in connection
trying
with
to
the
fill an
creepy
order.
incident at the business in Lady Lake, an Orlando suburb.
and then she met
As detailed in
Spearman.
an arrest report, the victim told cops she was completing an Instacart delivery at Lowe's when an unknown man approached her and repeatedly requested
Maybe
photographs
everybody
of
learned
her
a lesson.
feet.
I mean, the only one who needs to learn one is Spearman,
After
of course.
declining the man's request,
you know, that-
she accepted his phone
that
number
way
in
it's
an
not
effort
that hard.
to end
It's-
the
there's only
encounter
one guy
and
to learn
continue
something.
working. As she
Surely
walked
this
away,
can happen.
the
No,
man,
it didn't.
later identified as
Probably be
Spearman,
in and out of
called
jail.
out to her. When the victim turned
this is
around,
too weird.
Spearman
The fact that
intentionally
he
exposed his flaccid
willing
penis and
To
declared,
approach this woman,
"Call
that's
me
like step
for
one.
dick."
Uh,
The victim
Later
said
on.
that Spearman then followed
Yeah,
her
he's-
into
he's gonna build
Lowe's
his
until she
dungeon
approached a group of customers,
and try to
causing him
abduct
to
some lady
leave
and
the
stick her
area.
in there, you know? Unless he's just,
Assume.
too lazy.
put it
That's the
back
thing.
in
Some of these serial killers, you think about it, it's a lot
Anyway,
of work.
during a
being
subsequent police
serial
interview,
killer,
Spearman
especially the ones who
reportedly made
do
admissions
build
that
dungeons and
substantially
stuff.
corroborated the
It's like,
victim's
good
account
Lord.
of the incident.
That's a lot of trouble.
Spearman was then arrested
Yeah.
and booked into the county jail,
But, yeah,
from which
they're-
he was later released
They're just
on
dedicated to,
$1,000 bond.
the fantasy, I guess. And it's not enough to be a
really
fantasy.
is
It
quite
must
creepy.
be real. And
I guess since he didn't
so
touch her or anything like that,
that's
they let him go on $1,000.
that's what they end up doing, I guess. But it's got to start somewhere, and it's
look, I know
usually
it's tough
something
out
like
there in the
this.
dating scene and whatnot.
Then you got to wonder in his
You wanna
background that
meet
he
people and
tortured
you
cats
got to
and
come up
dogs
with a
and
better
stuff.
way to break
That
the
kind of
ice.
thing.
You don't
That's
go out and
always
say,
a
"Can I have
red
pictures of your feet.
They're doing that.
Then
Oh
She
boy,
doesn't seem to be
yeah, it's only a
inclined
matter
to
of
do that. Then you think, well,
Because
what's my next?
how do they put it?
I know.
Oh, eventually they graduate.
You
Yeah,
don't
that's right.
just
They
whip it out,
graduate.
but he
They don't get a cap
Then
and
again,
gown or anything, but they
His
just
name is Spearman.
they're practicing on animals,
I guess it was.
and then eventually,
destiny.
yeah, I think that's enough of that.
This has been a Nailsin
Now
News
it's
Bulletin.
time to get a human being. So that's how that goes. Of course, it always comes in sexually for them. It's a sexual fetish to them.
This
to
is a
abduct
Nailsin
somebody,
News Bulletin.
torture them, and all that stuff. Does that mean they engage in bestiality
Spearman
too?
busted for exposing
know.
his spear. After
Don't care to
repeatedly
look
hectoring
into
the
it, of
woman
course.
for photos of her.
But anyway,
a Florida
that's
man
that.
allegedly exposed
That's the
himself
end of
and
the
then
story. Gee, that was still there. Sorry about that. And that'll do it. That'll do it. Alexandria says, I had a guy flash me once. I laughed so hard I could barely walk. Oh, he could have abducted you right there. You were overcome with the hysteria of your laughter. And then he's like, nah, it worked. Now she's mine. But, Alexander continues. He did seem disappointed. Yeah, he really thought, I don't know. Who knows? I guess he thought you would like, and run away, But then you laughed. He's like, no, don't laugh at it. Jeez. Yeah, you don't really want to know what he went home to, some weird thing. His mother's there. Norman, what have you been doing? Have you been touching dirty girls? No, Mama, leave me alone. Yeah. And he eventually cries himself to sleep. That's all you can do. That's all he can do at that point. Feel bad for him? Don't. He's a weirdo. All right. All that work, no money. So I'm a complete and utter failure. So I have to go back to work later tonight. Next week, I have to work Thursday night as well. So there won't be as many live streams. There wasn't this week, really, because other things got in. What are you coming up for? Other things got in the way. Oh, here comes the storm. Yeah, there's a tropical storm out here. I don't expect it to do much. Everything should be all right. But it is hurricane season, and we're going into August. Now, August and September are the danger zone for this area. That's when the worst of hurricanes threaten the area. Will it happen? It's possible. If it does, I just hope it doesn't destroy my house. That's the best I can hope for. If a massive one comes in, that would mean I'm out of action for a month. Because it's like the apocalypse after one of those things. It takes a long time before power is restored and all that. So these things are possible. Hopefully not this year. I mean, I've had enough. I've had a few. Isn't that enough? Can't the hurricanes go somewhere else? Anyway, yeah, that's all that fun to look forward to. I've got a procedure on the horizon. Medical issues, So anyway, I finally get monetized and I want to take advantage of it, and everything keeps getting in the way. Why? But anyway, yeah, that's another thing. YouTube still hasn't sent me the PIN number. Come on. They got to send that to you in the snail mail. It should have been here by now. Now I got to worry about that. Jeez. Anyway, that's it. Hopefully, well, I mean, the new monitor's working good. I think that was the problem that cut off my Sunday comics show, where I just had to abruptly end it because I couldn't see anything after that. So you can't read the thing if you can't see it, But apparently you could just see the image sitting there, and why isn't he just reading it? So anyway, I got that, so I ought to be able to do it. I might just go ahead and tape those two and get that over with. I don't know. I'll think about it in the next minute or two and figure that one out. Oh yeah, and I gotta watch Poseidon Adventure. When will the review be? Surely I can get that one. So that ought to be sometime. Oh, damn, I still haven't done yeah. I got to put together my House of the Dragon recent episode review. I'll put that out there. There's some other stuff I taped because for a minute or two, I thought I would combine Nailsin News and Nailsin Ratings live and do that. I've done those a couple of times because I did some videos on some of that, but it's all the same crap. So that'll be sent out over the weekend. So there you go. That ought to work. All right. I think that catches everything up. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you the next time around, and we'll visit then. That should hopefully, be fun and, the glorious, most wonderful thing in your life. No doubt about it. All right, probably not, but I don't know. I'll give it a shot, Have a good night.
you trust your meat to take a walk down the street? While killers be killing and killing and killing and killing. Nailsin News. Where all the money go? Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street while killers be killing and killing and killing and killing? Nailsin News. News.
The Dabbleverse is beneath me! I am appalled!